All right, mathematicians, we're going to go over our classwork from yesterday. This was on our lesson about how to round numbers. Remember that it's very important for you to have had your notebook out and open so you could look over the lyrics of our song. That helps us remember the correct steps in order to round to a specific place value. So for the first part, it says the directions are to round to the place value underlined digit. So when we look at the underlined digit, that is finding the place. They've already done that for us. So when we look next door, you were asked to place your arrow to indicate the number that's going to decide how the underlined digit is going to round. So when we say 5 or more, raise the score, or 4 or less, let it rest. So it's going to let the 3 rest. So that means it stays the same. Everything to the left of the number stays exactly the same as well. And then we look to the right, zeros in sight. So starting at the arrow, everything turns into a 0. So we then place a 0 down for each of those digits. Then we use our trick of starting from the right to the left, counting over 3 to place the comma between the periods. So we say 1, 2, 3, place the comma, and the rounded number is 123,000. Looking at number 4, they found the place. Look next door. 5 or more, we're going to raise the score. So that means that we're moving that underlined digit up by 1 so that 8 turns into a 9. Everything to the left stays exactly the same, no changing. And starting at the arrow, look to the right, zeros in sight. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 place values that turn into zeros. So then I place them on the number line. Then I use my trick, starting on the right side, counting over 3, place the comma to show the break in the period. So this number for the answer is 390,000. Number 6, found the place, look next door. It's 4 or less, so it's going to let the 1 rest, which means it doesn't change. Everything to the left stays exactly the same as well. Then I look to the right, zeros in sight. So starting at the arrow, there's 1, 2, 3 spots, which means there's 3 zeros. And then looking from the right, we count over 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3, place the comma, and our number for the answer is 191,000. Number 8, we found the place, look next door, 5 or more, raise the score. So that means that the underlined digit needs to be rounded up by 1, so the 3 turns into a 4. Everything to the left stays exactly the same. And then starting at the arrow, look to the right, zeros in sight. So we have 1, 2, 3 place values that have to change to zeros. Then we use our trick, count over 3 numbers from the right, 1, 2, 3, place the comma to show the break in the period. The answer is 74,000. For number 10, we found the place, look next door, place the arrow. This is 4 or less, gonna let the 4 rest, so the 4 stays the same. Everything to the left of the underline also stays the same. And then starting at the arrow, look to the right, zeros in sight. So there's 1, 2, 3 place values that turn to zeros. And then we have to place our comma, show the break in the period. So we count over 1, 2, 3, show the comma. The answer is 684,000. In the next problem, we have the table that we're supposed to use to help us solve for number 12. So we have to look to see what the table represents. So the title of the table shows mountain heights. We have 3 columns. We're going to have the name of the mountain, the state the mountain is located, and the height for that particular mountain. So for number 12, it says find the height of Mount Whitney in the table. So we're going to underline the direction right there. And it says to round, so that's an important key word, so we're going to box it. Round the height to the nearest 1,000. So this is also going to be key for us to know where to find our place. So first we need to locate Mount Whitney. That height is 14,494. We will always want to rewrite just so we can make sure that we have enough space to do the work we need for rounding. So when it says to the nearest 1,000, that means the thousands place is underlined. So we found our place. We're looking next door. This number we're pointing to, we have to decide, is it 5 or more going to raise the score of the underline, or 4 or less going to let the underline rest? So it's 4 or less, so that means the underline number rest. So that means it stays the same. Anything to the left of that underlined number also stays the same. And then starting at the arrow, look to the right, zeros in sight. So we always start at the arrow and count 1, 2, 3 place values that turn into zeros. And then we place the comma to show the break in the period. So when we look at number 12, the answer is 14,000 feet. When we turn the paper over, number 2 on the back, it says to the nearest 10,000, the population of Vermont was estimated to be, and we're going to rewrite it, 620,000. So it tells me to the nearest 10,000. So I know that we were looking at the 10,000's position, which might have been the exact population of Vermont in 2008. So if this is known as the rounded number, these were the original numbers. Which one is the correct original if this is what it was asked to round to? So I'm going to rewrite these. That way I can visually do the double checking. So A, this was B. This is going to be C. And then this is D. We know that we're looking at the 10,000 spot, which means that we're then looking at the thousands spot to make the decision. So we have to look at, if this is what I'm trying to round to, that means that the thousands position has to either be a 5 or more to raise a score of a 1 to move up to a 2, or if it's already in the 2 and the 10,000s, it needs to be the 4 or less to let the 10,000s place rest. So when we look at these, we can see that this would not be it because the 6 would raise the score of the 2. For this one, the 1 would be the 4 or less to let the 2 rest. So this looks like a good number that we might have in as the answer. Letter C, the 4 would tell my 1 to rest, so that would be too small of a number. So we say that that's eliminated. And then when we have a 0 and we're looking at the 9 to make the decision, the 9 would change that 0 up to a 1, but that's not the number we're looking for. So the only answer that makes sense for what they're asking us to round up to is B. Number 4 says Pittsburgh International Airport had approximately 714,587 passengers in August of 2009. Which number is greater than 714,589? So if we know that this is the original number, we know that this is not asking us to round, it's asking us to make a comparison because we see the comparison words greater than. So it says which number is going to be greater than this. So I'm going to compare to the original. So when we look at A, 714,000, those are the same digits. 580, this example for the first answer is smaller than the original. So this is not going to be it. So you can either cross it out or put a little X to eliminate. Letter B, we already can see that this says 704,000, which is smaller than the 714,000, so we can eliminate that choice. Letter C starts the same, so it says 714,000. This letter C then moves on to say 601. We can see that the digit in the hundreds place is a 6 compared to the original of a 5. 6 is greater. So this one actually shows a greater value than the number that they had, which is what they're asking us to locate, which number is greater than this. But we have to also eliminate letter D. So it starts the same, but in the hundreds place, the number given for the answer is smaller than the original, which is not what they're asking us to locate. So the only choice is C. And then in the last one, it says the 4th grade collected 40,583 cans and plastic bottles. So remember, we always want to make sure that we're aware of the labels. And then we underline the question, which of the following shows that number in word form? So we look at each choice. Letter A says 40,580. So we say this is 40,580. That is different, so we say that that is not the right choice. Letter B is 40,000, and I know where the comma goes because it's also written in the word form. 583. When I compare to the original, that's exactly the same value, so that is most likely our choice, but we want to double check. The next one says 4,583. This is a different value. And letter D says 400,583, and this is greater than our value. So our only logical choice is B. It has the same exact value. Remember to review your answers, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me.